Hey everyone, it's Andrew here. So I'm taking a look today at a company called Kaspi.kz out of Almaty in Kazakhstan. Now, if you haven't heard of this company before, you might think this is a bit ridiculous. Well, at first it might be a bit off the beaten path, but that also is where some interesting companies exist. And Kaspi is actually listed on the London Stock Exchange, so most investors can access this one. It's easy if you have interactive brokers, and there's a link in the description for that. Okay, a little background into Kaspi. Now, it is a super app in Kazakhstan. Think of it a little like Alipay and Alibaba in China. It has like a payments part, like a banking app, a marketplace section where you buy stuff like electronics and household items and things like that. And it has this fintech arm which give you access to credit and loans and things like that. The CEO and co-founder, Mikhail Lamtadze, who is Georgian actually, has turned a small tier bank in Kazakhstan into a big tech company. It's really impressive what has happened here. See, Kazakhstan isn't some innovation hub. It took the few crazy guys to take a big risk and go in a totally different direction to the banking system in Kazakhstan. I think of it a little bit like a reverse Alibaba because they started as a bank and then they turned into a tech company. So being a bank first, Kaspi's first online product was an online bill payment system. It was remarkably successful when it launched back in 2012, and it eliminated the need for people to wait in queues and pay silly commissions on transactions just to pay their bills. Then in 2014, Kaspi launched Kazakhstan's first marketplace, and in 2017, it introduced this super app called Kaspi.kz, is what we know of today. Now, Kaspi's market share is well over 50% across the board for all these different categories they're in, and easily the #1 player in each of these categories. Now the super app is actually the most popular mobile app in the whole country. Let me just touch on how good I think the leadership is here from Mikhail. So he took over the small bank back in 2007, which is mostly focused on commercial lending. So he was happy to essentially blow up this business to go after what he thought the right direction was. And this radical direction change took some serious guts. This is what Mikhail said about it. Put simply, I was not interested in the business that made 95% of the balance sheet, which was commercial lending. I didn't want to spend a single minute on it because we had no competitive advantage in the corporate business. I wanted to dedicate all of our resources to the 5% of our balance sheet, which was the retail banking. Retail was a technology game and an area in which we could build a competitive advantage. And this is where I saw the opportunity. And as Mikhail was starting to work on this new direction, the financial crisis of 2008 was actually just getting started. He said, look, everything was collapsing. A third of the banking sector was failing. It created a huge amount of stress for us. But what doesn't kill us makes us stronger. Now, at its core, in the words of Hamish, I think Kaspi is a true spawner. They are making new services and apps all the time. They have innovative ideas that are brought about from the struggles that people of Kazakhstan have, and also taking things that are working profitably in the US and China and implementing them in the country. Let me just quickly show you the most recent results released in late April. So they break their business down in when they're reporting into their payment section, their marketplace, and their fintech. Then they have like their consolidated numbers over on the side. So you can see here the growth rates for all of their areas are very strong, 20% to 60% or 70% in some cases for net income in the payment section. Lots of very high growth here. Now this next slide is their daily active users and their monthly active users. So I think this is really interesting to see that their daily active users has gone up 34% since the same time last year at 7.2 million people using it every day. That's actually more than a third of the entire population of Kazakhstan are using this app every day. That is a lot of market share. Then we look at what merchants are coming onto the platform to sell stuff, so in their marketplace side of the business, and it's growing at 233%, so that's moving very quickly. With more merchants coming on, that's going to allow more customers to buy things, and there's going to be more range of products, which is going to encourage more customers to come on there and more merchants to come on there, and that'll flywheel away nicely. Then we've got their point of sale devices, which has gone up about 100%. So that's like point of sale, like kind of like Square inside of a shop. You can just make the payment inside of a shop. So think of it a little bit like Square. Then you've got their e-grocery, which is buying grocery online essentially. And yeah, as you can, the growth is insane. Like 23x just in the last year and a bit. So it's fantastic growth here. And this is like another area that they've spawned off. So this is the grocery section they've spawned off. The next section is their business to business payments, which is up like tenfold. And then you've got Postomats, which is, this has got a little picture here, as you can see, where people can collect their deliveries. And look, the number of those are increasing. They're up to nearly a billion of those being in use. So people can accept their deliveries and making the whole experience of e-commerce significantly easier, because as you can imagine in Kazakhstan, the delivery service is a bit all over the place and not very reliable, and it's not very safe. So having a place that you can accept your parcels is really convenient, which is going to encourage more online shopping. Then you've got travel, which is another thing they've just started to, they've essentially spun this out in the last 12 months, and it's up. Looks like nearly 9% of their 9 times the numbers of tickets sold. Gross merchandise value up about 5 times. So they've started this from nothing, and actually they acquired a small little travel company, and now they all of a sudden have put it into their super app, and within a year it's now up to 9% of the share in the marketplace. So this is the travel sector of Kazakhstan. And now they have Kaspi Travel is now 9%, like lightning. Look, I can go on and on about this. We've got another one here. We've got Digital Documents is their latest addition to their government tech platform. So now you can have like your ID and your driver's license and your title to your property and all these things if you wanted to. You got your marriage certificate. You can have all these things now electronically collected, electronically on your phone. So you don't have to carry your wallet around. You can just show your IDs on your phone if you need IDs. So look, Kaspi are building up this these services kind of like what Google would do, or Alibaba, or amazing. This is turning into an amazing super app. So this whole ecosystem is really fascinating. And the growth areas are, well, we've got just overall user growth. You've got transaction volume per user growing. You've got all the new verticals. We've got more merchants coming on. Then there's regional expansion. Now, regarding regional expansion, being from Georgia for the last 6 or 7 years, I know how badly tech services in Georgia are. They suck. And I can't wait for a good tech player to come in and modernize the country. Uzbekistan has also a population of 30 million people, which is actually 40% bigger than Kazakhstan. Then you have Azerbaijan, where Kaspi has started testing the waters, and that's a 10 million population country. Now, unfortunately, just before the war, Kaspi bought a small bank in Ukraine to start testing the market there as well. Look, that's obviously going to be on hold for a while. Ukraine might be a more difficult task, as the tech services in the country are actually quite strong already, so they will have some competition there. Anyway, there are neighboring countries through Central Asia and the Caucasus where Kaspi can expand into. Now, there are Russian companies like Tinkoff, Yandex, and Mail.ru. These are possible competitors, but look, Russian companies are going to find it difficult to expand geographically for quite a while, I think. And geographic expertise is going to be really important. What works in Kazakhstan probably won't work in Ukraine, Georgia, or Uzbekistan. So when expanding geographically, it will be interesting to see how this is going to be executed, because I think that's going to be very important. All right, now turning to the competition, look, I think the network effect is really strong here. Being by far the #1 payment network and marketplace with most of the country now using Kaspi, it's going to be hard for competition to come in and compete away these users. The switching costs are going to be a challenge as more people integrate Kaspi services in their daily lives. Customers love Kaspi products, so it will be really an uphill battle for foreign businesses, like a Chinese competitor coming in, or a Russian competitor coming into Kazakhstan being their core market. It's going to be very hard to break in. Okay, so at this stage, it does look really interesting, but I do actually have a few issues. My first issue is, well, what does the management think of the war in Ukraine? This is a pure moral thing for me personally. I personally have been affected, and people close to me have been affected in dramatic ways. I just can't support a business that doesn't have a strong stance on the war. I would want Kaspi to come out and make a statement condemning the Russian government, but they haven't yet. They haven't said anything, and I'm really just waiting to see what they're going to say. Then there's corruption. And I have a friend who was working for a few years in Almaty, and I asked him about Kaspi, and he said that yes, it's true that lots of people use it every day, but he said, don't invest in Kazakhstan, please. And I asked him whether he means don't invest in Kaspi. And no, he said, just don't invest in anything in the country. Corruption is everywhere, and all through the government and society. He worked in the oil and gas industry and said that it is just full of corruption everywhere you look. So I believe that without a doubt, Kaspi, to be successful, would need to have politicians on their side. There would be no way around it. And this would be totally fine in Kazakhstan, but I bet a lot of behaviors that have taken place probably wouldn't be accepted in England or America. And it is just such a different business culture. So you would have to be comfortable knowing that there is a different way of doing business in these countries, and mild forms of corruption are part of that structure. It's acceptable for some people, not acceptable for others, and it depends on your standards and understanding of the region. And for me, well, although I think there would have to be levels of corruption, I actually don't know for sure. Maybe I'm wrong and they run a very tight, morally high business and don't engage with any forms of corruption. I think the odds are unlikely, but I don't know. And that makes things tricky for me to ever get to the bottom of. I like Mikhail, but I do understand the ex-Soviet culture after living in Russia, Georgia, and Ukraine for many years. The business is growing really well and has a long runway to go. It is highly profitable. I like the management and the competitive advantage they've built. And for those wanting to find a smaller Alibaba, well, this might be a great company to investigate. All right, so I hope you've enjoyed my thoughts on Kaspi. Feel free to criticize me as much as you like. I can take it. Actually, I learn a lot from the criticism, so go for it. Tell me what I've missed. For those still here, thanks for getting to the end, and I will see you in the next video.